In a few minutes, Jennifer Lynch, the Chief Commissioner of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, will be my guest on the Roy Green Show. The Commissioner, through her office, declined an offer to engage perhaps the Commission's most often quoted critic, Ezra Levant, the author of Shakedown, How Our Government is Undermining Democracy in the Name of Human Rights. But unlike with CTV a few days ago, Jennifer Lynch will appear on the same program as Ezra Levant, but she chose to follow Mr. Levant, which was an option that I offered. I really want to speak to the Commissioner. And so I offered them the option of being, first of all, on with and debating Ezra Levant. And then the second option was, do you want to be on before or after Mr. Levant? I'm not surprised the Commissioner chose to follow Mr. Levant. That would be fairly standard procedure. The Commission did say that they will not debate what the Commission does on radio or television. I suppose, by extension, I would argue with Ezra Levant, or someone like Mr. Levant, who joins us on the Roy Green Show on the Corus Radio Network. So, Ezra, we have a different reality to the one that presented itself at CTV, where Commissioner Lynch refused to be on the program at all, if you were at all present, but she declines to debate you. And some of your readers on your blog, EzraLevant.com, have sent emails everywhere from being appalled that I would accept the conditions of the Commissioner to congratulations for a job well done.
Well, look, I think it's laughable what she's done. She's so afraid of my ideas that she won't debate me. Roy, if I was saying anything untrue, if my facts were wrong, a well-trained lawyer like Jennifer Lynch with her 4 permanent PR staff, she hired a pollster for $15,000, she hired a spin doctor firm for $10,000. You'd think someone with that kind of resources behind her would be able to tear me to ribbons. If I have a single factual error, don't you think she'd love to debate me directly and embarrass me on national radio?
I can't speak for the Commissioner, Ezra, but I would tell you that if I were the Commissioner and you'd written the book, and in fact if we'd investigated you behind closed doors, by the way, I would feel a sense of obligation to debate you in the open if that opportunity were offered, if I'd investigated you behind closed doors. But if I were the Commissioner and I had my facts and I knew that you were misrepresenting the Commission, I'd be taking you on.
Well, for sure. And the funny thing is, this whole debate it's not over taxes or justice, criminal justice. It's about free speech and censorship. So even the fact that she won't debate me sort of proves my point before we've even started. She's not for it. But anyhow, let's dig into the substance, because I know you want to get to your main guest. So I want to be very precious with the time we have. I'd love to put some facts out there, Roy, if I may, that Jennifer Lynch has refused to answer over the last 2 years, and I don't think she should be allowed to get away with it. That's why she doesn't want to debate me, because I don't think she wants to answer for some questions. Do you mind if I throw some things out there?
Go ahead.
Here's an example. This Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act is the censorship provision, and they've had 14 prosecutions in the last few years. 12 out of those 14 were prosecutions by the same complainant, a guy named Richard Warman, who used to be a Human Rights Commission staffer. So instead of this law being for vulnerable people out there who have hurt their feelings or something, it's one guy who's responsible for all but 2 of the prosecutions the Human Rights Commission has prosecuted. Now, he used to be a staffer at the Human Rights Commission. So he's filing the complaint.
So Ezra, specifically, what question would you be asking the Commissioner?
Well, why do we have a censorship law that is only used by one person? And he's not some vulnerable minority. He's an Aryan white man, rich lawyer, who files complaint after complaint, has them prosecuted by his friends at the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission pays him to be a witness in his own complaints, and he's awarded tens of thousands of dollars tax-free.
Okay, I want to come to that point. I really want to get to that point, because I want to ask the Commissioner about this. You said last weekend when you were on the air with me, and you're saying it again today, and you said it as well, I believe, on CTV, that the Commission has, in fact, engaged in providing funding to complainants. From what if I recall correctly, what the representative of Ms. Lynch said on CTV, the Commission has never paid any funds of any kind to any complainant. You're saying this is not the case.
That's right. Not only do they pay Richard Warman's expenses, his travel, accommodation, and meals, they pay him a nominal sum as a witness. So they've done a legal trick, Roy. He's the complainant, but they call him as their witness so they can pay his expenses. So they pay his expenses. They provide him with a commission lawyer to prosecute his vendettas. When he wins, he gets the tax-free money to himself. It's a racket. But I got something bigger that I wanted to answer. It's actually far bigger than Richard Warman. Human Rights Commission staff, to this day, join neo-Nazi groups like Stormfront and Vanguard, sign on under aliases, and publish hundreds and hundreds of anti-Semitic, anti-gay, and anti-black comments. Richard Warman is the one who does this the most, but others include Dean Stacey. He's an investigator.
Okay.
Giacomo Vigna.
Ezra, I don't know that the names of the individuals will matter to our listeners. I don't think it matters. But the essence of it is that you're saying the commission will join these neo-Nazi and white supremacist organizations in order to.
Well, they go online and they've written hundreds of anti-Semitic, anti-black, and anti-gay comments. Now, they do that, they say, to entrap other people to say, yeah, right on, those damn Jews. And when the other people say that, they slap them with complaints. But just this March, the Human Rights Tribunal called this conduct disreputable, disappointing, disturbing, and had no excuse to do it, but they're still doing it. I want to know, so my question for Jennifer Lynch, if she would dare to debate me, is why is it appropriate for taxpayers' money at a Human Rights Commission to be spent on government computers and paying people to join neo-Nazi groups and say vicious anti-Semitic, anti-black, and anti-gay things?
All right, I hope, Ezra, that I'll have the time to get to that. We only have limited time with the commissioner, so I'm going to rush you along here.
Sure.
We haven't done it in the past, but I will rush you on this occasion. If there's one fundamental question that you would ask the commissioner, it would be what?
Well, I guess it's why is truth not a defense before the Human Rights Commission? If you say something that's true, they'll prosecute you anyways, and they'll have a 100% conviction rate. Why does she want to live in a country where it's against the law to say true things, even if they're offensive, even if people disagree with you? Why is it against the law to say true things? And
one final point. And I'm going to ask you this question, Ezra, because we'll use this as the lead-in to my conversation with the commissioner. Have I discussed even one area of my about-to-be-aired live interview with the Canadian Human Rights Chief Commissioner, Jennifer Lynch, with you? Have I asked you one question? Have I suggested that you provide me with one answer off the air? Have I had any such conversation with you?
No.
Okay. Ezra Levant, thank you for the time. Again.
Thanks, Roy. Bye-bye.
Ezra Levant on The Green Show on the Corus Radio Network. We wanted to get the commissioner on the air as quickly as we can in order to hear what Jennifer Lynch, the Chief Commissioner of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, has to say about her agency, and I will ask her about what Mr. Levant had to say. I suspect the commissioner is listening on air, so she already knows what Mr. Levant will have said. We'll come back on The Roy Green Show on the Corus Radio Network.
This is The Roy Green Show, all along the Corus Radio Network.
The email address is roy.green@corusent.com. With me now on The Roy Green Show on the Corus Radio Network is the Chief Commissioner of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, Jennifer Lynch. And she joins, of course, or at least follows, Ezra Levant, whom you all just heard. And, Commissioner, I would expect that you also heard what Mr. Levant had to say?
Yes, I was listening.
You're on the air with me today, and thank you for taking the time, by the way.
Well, always happy to make ourselves available to describe the work that we do.
Okay. You're on the air with me today, minutes after I spoke with Mr. Levant, who is, of course, probably the Canadian Human Rights Commission's most vocal critic, and yet just days ago you refused a similar opportunity on CTV. Why the CTV decision? Why change your position with me?
Look, Roy, I'm always happy to explain the policies and roles of our commission. We did send a senior member of our staff, Philippe Dufresne, and he did an excellent job. So I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding, but I'm here today. And if my not being here last week was news, it's yesterday's news, in my opinion.
Well, Commissioner, we didn't establish any parameters as to what the questions were going to be that I would ask, and so I'm going to ask you the questions that I feel are most relevant and the ones that Canadians wish to have answered. And one of the questions, of course, is why the reluctance to debate someone like Ezra Levant or someone else on the merits of the Canadian Human Rights Commission. If he writes a book that challenges the Commission, and if you find inaccuracies in that book, would it not behoove you, and would it not really favor the Commission